over again. And it was very easy for that ink to bleed. At any rate, it exhausted my patience. And I thought, I can't take this any longer. Furthermore, if I graduate, I'm probably going to be doing plumbing and wiring specs for gas stations. It didn't seem as glamorous as I wanted it to be. My heroes were Mies van der Rohe and Frank Lloyd Wright, and I thought this will never happen. I ended up studying literature and getting a degree in literature, and then I was at a major life crisis of what am I really going to do with this? What do I want to do? And I was in a museum in Washington, and was listening to it, was looking at paintings and listening to a conversation from some people my age, and the conversation was very stimulating. It was about what they were doing, about the work that they were creating. Well, it was obvious that they were art students, art and design students. And what I realized was that this museum was also a school, it was a museum school. And I took a summer class, loved the experience more than I can adequately describe. I actually felt unshackled. I felt, for the first time in my life, I thought the answer's not in the back of the book. It's within me. And I said to a group of you at our table earlier today, each of you, you're each different. You each have different DNA. You each have different thresholds of thought, different points of view. I said if we were to put something as mundane as a bottle of water in front of each of you and ask you to draw it for 15 minutes, if there are 425 of you, we're going to have 425 very different looking drawings. So I ended up majoring in sculpture. I did work that was very architectural, so that never left me. And when I graduated, I was also faced with a conundrum. Now what am I going to do to put food on the table? And I ended up building architectural models for 3 firms in Washington, D.C. And then I was invited to teach. A former teacher of mine was looking for an assistant for a summer school program for high school students, and she said, I need a teaching assistant, will you do it? Well, I wasn't going to say no to her. I revered this individual. And after that experience, she said, well, now I've had someone, she was the head of the fine arts program at the school, I've had someone drop out who was teaching 3-dimensional design, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather have do this than you. So, of course I said yes. I was very excited about it. But it was the first time I was alone in a classroom leading it, and I have to share something with you. For the first week of classes, every single morning, I would throw up, and in class, I would have to brace myself against the back of the classroom wall when I addressed the students, because if I were to step away from the wall, my knees were shaking so badly, I would just collapse in a heap. So I was a wreck. And I went to my mentor, the former teacher who hired me. Her name was Rona Slade, a great Welsh woman. And I said to her, what am I going to do? This is a horrible experience. On the one hand, I love the idea of teaching. On the other hand, look what it's doing to me. And she turned to me and she said very matter-of-factly, this experience will either kill you or cure you. And I'm counting on the latter. End of conversation. And of course it did cure me eventually. And who knew I was going to spend the next 29 years in a classroom in one way or another. So I continued with my sculpture. Eventually, I have to tell you, I found teaching to be so creative and so purging and cathartic creatively that I left the sculpture. It could happen again, who knows. But it was, I became a career educator. I was invited to teach and be part of the admissions team at Parsons in 1983. And moved to New York. But I have to tell you something else. I was actually invited, and I'm only embellishing this because I was talking to many of you earlier about risk-taking and fear. I was actually invited a year earlier in 1982 and turned it down. And turned it down for a number of reasons, one of which was I was very happy and content, so saw absolutely no reason to change my life. And the other was a fair amount of fear. I thought, why would I leave my comfort zone? Why would I do this? But so much happened to me in the course of the next 12 months that when I was invited again, I didn't hesitate to say, I'll do it, I'll be there. And I have to explain, it wasn't an out-and-out offer. I came to New York, I had an interview, they did offer me the job, but it wasn't as though, oh yeah, this is just going to immediately happen. And then real fear set in. And I will also tell you, sorry Caroline, this is going on and on, we're only up to 1983. It was a very difficult transition. I mean, the adjustment from Washington to New York was profound, and it almost didn't work. When I went back to see my family for Thanksgiving that first year, I thought, maybe I won't go back. It's so much more comfortable here, it's so much easier here, but I didn't. I withstood it, and I'll fast forward. I became associate dean. In that capacity, I was a Mr. Fix-It, or as you like to hear me say, a pooper scooper. So I was sent into places in the school that were in trouble. And the fashion design department here in this building was in a serious state of disrepair. Part of it was a crisis of leadership. The chair was leaving and there was a void left. And part of it was a curriculum that hadn't changed in more than 50 years. It's fashion. It's all about change. So it was an industry that I knew only marginally about. I was on a huge learning curve. I was sent up here to offer up a diagnosis for what was wrong with the whole situation and a prescription for how to make it work, as I say. In fact, that may have been the first time I said it.
Tim, I just want to stop for 1 second.
Yes.
Just kind of reflect on some of the things that.
Yes.
Because I want to get back to being in fashion and runway. But, you know, what I find super interesting about this is, again, it's not a circuitous route. This idea that you have had interests that sometimes are super wide and then narrow down, whether it's looking at sculpture or architecture, and then you're looking at design in a broader sense. And also this idea that sometimes you suck it up and do something that's really scary for you.
Often.
And that's something I think that a lot of some of the folks that we have talked to and work with, that can be a hard thing for someone.
Absolutely.
And particularly if you're in a field that your parents might not understand too well or know that much about, to be able to kind of have that conversation to say, this is A, something I want to do, and B, I might want to do it even though it's so new to me that it's so scary that
that's
sick to my stomach.
Very important. Thank you for analyzing it and saying one of the many reasons why I love Caroline Payson. But you know, on that topic of the parents, a group of students and I were talking earlier about social media, and I mean, I'm so aware that for those you teens, social media is such a vital part of your life, and you've grown up with it. And for me, and I'm older than your parents, I believe, it's only a little blip. And when I think about how different the world is, and the possibility that your parents aren't understanding or particularly empathetic with what it is you may want to do, if you even know what you want to do yet. It's just the way things are today. Mm-hmm. And it's something to navigate that's, I won't call it an obstacle as much as a challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's one that you need to rise to. So my career path message is, you don't know where life's going to take you. You need to be ready for it to take you wherever it may, and you need to be ready to look at those little percolating bubbles that may be happening in front of you and say, that's a possible opportunity. I should explore that.
Is that how you got to be on Project Runway?
Well, actually, if the producers had listened to me when they first called me, we would never have even met, because I was in my chair's office here in this building, and the Project Runway producers called me, and they introduced themselves and said that they were looking for a consultant for a reality show about fashion. And my response was, a reality show about fashion? This industry has enough trouble without that. And I didn't want to meet with them. So I did. We had a very interesting conversation. I didn't hear from them, even though I was very excited by our conversation, and then later I did, once it was out of my brain altogether. And I thought, well, this could be an interesting opportunity, but my role in the show didn't exist. Talk about fear. They came to me a week before the designers were arriving and said, we think we need someone to be a mentor in the workroom. And no one explained why, and I didn't ask, but I suspect it's because they were fearful that the designers would go into the workroom and no one would talk. They would do their work. It would go back to the runway and be presented, but there wouldn't be any conversation about what's going on. So by sending me in, or anyone like me, to probe and to ask questions, they were assured of some dialogue. But I hadn't been before a camera. I was I was soaked in my own juices. It was terrifying. At the same time, I have to tell you, what was more terrifying was finding out that I would actually end up in the cut of the show. Which I didn't know until the show aired, because I thought, oh, as long as they have the designers responding to me, no one needs to see me, no one needs to hear my voice. But that was my way of rationalizing how I could go into that workroom every day and not shake from the knees down.
So I have a question. You did it anyway. So what got you through doing that, even though it made you so nervous?
First of all, a desire for an adventure, a desire for the whole possibility of growth from a new experience, and I love throwing the dice. I just do. I mean, you look at me and you think, look at that stuffy old fart. And externally, I certainly am, but internally, I am by nature a risk taker. I've been doing it my whole life, and I have to say too, I'm comfortable taking risks. In fact, the repositioning of this fashion program was an enormous risk, and some of you heard me say that it wasn't a very popular one in the industry. I was much maligned and reviled, and there was a horrible article in Women's Wear Daily about me and about how you should get rid of him. He's not good for this industry, and then later. It was but I have to say too, it was because I had people around me who were supportive. If the dean of the school and the president of the university hadn't been supportive, I would have been fired like that from this position. But seeing through risk-taking and seeing that it can take you to a better and higher place is what gets me excited about it. Does it sometimes fail? Yes. That's why it's called a risk. But when it's successful, it's thrilling. And the rush that you get from that is like nothing I experienced at any other time. So Project Runway was a big risk.
So a risk for some of these guys might be applying to design school.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for somebody who might be thinking about that?
Well, let me put it this way. If you want to be a designer in any of the disciplines that are here today, that surround us here today, you need to study the discipline. I just don't believe in self-made designers and self-taught designers. I mean, some fields, architecture, interiors, I mean, you have to be licensed. So you're going to have a degree of some sort for representing the discipline. But in others, you really can be self-taught and enter them through a back door, so to speak. But this is also the educator in me speaking. I fundamentally don't believe in it. And it's not only the body of knowledge that you experience and absorb and synthesize, it's also the social dynamic. It's you and your peers, it's you and your faculty, it's the whole critique experience. It's a profound one, and it's something that can't be replicated in any other form. And it also, for anyone creative who's making anything that's creative, it's coming from your soul, in a manner of speaking. And the whole notion that someone might bring some negative critical analysis to that, when you haven't been through several years or more of critiques, that can be very unsettling. You feel as though your skin's been ripped off, you're suddenly laid bare raw, and it's more than unsettling. It's can be debilitating. And the critique allows, or studying any of these disciplines allows you to realize that it's not personal. I want to say something else, though. Of course, I'm never at a loss for words. Good education in any of these design disciplines here today, I believe, allows you to also design across disciplines. Perhaps not practice across disciplines. Again, I reflect upon architecture and interiors. But it's because you have a wonderful understanding and experience with problem solving. And that isn't going to just be in your personal career or your professional career, it's going to be in your personal life. We solve problems every day. And it's something I will always Well, it's with me every day, my own art and design educational experiences. And one of the things that I love most, designers make this world a much more beautiful place and a safer place, a place that we can understand better. I believe designers give back every day through their professional work. And that's why one reason I'm so committed to the Teen Design Fair and to being on the education committee of the Cooper Hewitt is this is an investment in each of you. You're the future. You are going to be running our world and designing our world and directing it. And what a huge responsibility. So those of us who are a generation or more senior to you have responsibilities to give back to you as well. And am I answering this adequately?
I think so, absolutely.
Okay. But it's just a very important role. You know, if we don't have each other, I don't know what we do have. And as citizens of the world, we have a lot of responsibilities. And I would say we first have responsibilities to ourselves, and then we have responsibilities to each other. And it's about being a good citizen of the world and a responsible one.
Thanks. We're going to turn it over for any of you who have some questions. There are one mic stand, or two people going around with, there are people going around with microphones. So if you have a question, raise your hand, and would really appreciate it if you spoke into the mic and also told us your name and where you're from, what school you're from.
Good. Off the ground with this moment of reckoning. To be part of that and to bear witness to it is the most thrilling thing I ever experienced.
Okay, thank you.
That was a big answer. So I didn't know where I was going with that until I went there. But it's true.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you.
Hold it like a rock star.
Yeah.
So my question is, what are your thoughts on graduate?
Maybe that sounds like it's off.
Okay, what are your
My thoughts on graduate school?
yeah for designers?
I really believe it depends upon the individual. I will tell you, I have a very personal belief about it. If you're going to go to graduate school, work between leaving undergraduate school and going to graduate school. First, you'll be much better informed about what you really want to get out of graduate school. And secondly, you need some time away from school. You need some time in the real world. The idea of going directly from undergrad to grad, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. And I'm also going to say it's different for everybody, but in broad strokes and generally speaking, that's my belief. And also, when you get out and work, you may find you don't need graduate school. You may find that working is that graduate school experience. I find that that's very true in fashion. Thank you.
Here. No, it's not.
Hi.
Hi, can we get a mic over to you? There's one coming up right behind you.
We just want everyone to hear your question, especially us.
Hi, I'm Jamali Perez, and I want to ask you, what do you see yourself doing in the future? Like, are you happy with yourself, or what accomplishments you have?
Oh my goodness, I'm the luckiest, happiest guy I know. I couldn't. You know, when I speculate about the future, I have to tell you, I have done so much. I'm so thrilled with what I've been able to achieve, and I have to say, it's not been alone. It's been because I have a lot of great people with me and around me and with whom I work and engage every day. I mean, life's a big collaboration. I say it all the time. But I would never even dream of saying, oh, I want to do X or I want to do Y. I think it would be hubris. I mean, I think it would be like throwing hubris in the face of an angry God to say that, because I am so lucky. I pinch myself every day. I can't believe it. I mean, 12 seasons of Project Runway, I still pinch myself. And thank you. You know, you walk the red carpet with Heidi Klum at the Emmys and you think, am I really doing this? It's surreal. I'm extremely lucky. Thank you. And very happy.
Oh, now we've got a lot of questions.
Hi. Besides being motivated, what do you think is needed in order to succeed?
Where are you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm over here.
Oh, and what's your name?
I'm Cindy
there you are.
Huang, and I go to high school of
Hi.
fashion industry.
Again, I'm like Nina. Very popular.
So besides being motivated, what do you think is needed in order to succeed?
Besides being motivated,
Yes.
tremendous tenacity, a love and passion for what you do, and loving doing it. Not looking at the golden ring that you could possibly possess, but just loving doing what you do day in and day out. And when I say tenacity, you need to be like a weeble. If someone topples you over, you need to bounce right back up. If you're toppled over and you just want to cry and huddle and stay there, get out of it. Don't even think about it. Don't study it. I mean, I have to tell you, in these design disciplines, there is no room for weak sisters. There just isn't. Right, Chris? There's no room. There are too many people. It's too competitive. There are too many people who do love to do it. If you're just seduced by the glamour or the trappings or what you think life will be like, it's tough, it's rough, it's dirty, it's gritty. And unless you have that passion for it, you won't want to do it. One of the students asked me today about Project Runway, is it hard? And I said, no. Well, I have to tell you, for me, first of all, let's use the challenge, the questioning what I'm doing and not believing as the catalyst. First of all, you have to go through a fair amount of soul searching about whether there's any truth in what the individual's saying, because maybe there is if they're trying to push you in this industry. It's all been healed and, well, I won't say it's all been healed and repaired. Most of it's been healed and repaired since, but I'm so proud of what was achieved here that it made it all worth it. But at the time, it didn't matter. It may have been an experiment that was going to fail, but it was an experiment. And that's how we have to think about most of life. It's an experiment. And you may fall back and regroup from some things, but other things you'll realize were the right thing to do. But everything, as I said, everything really should be a collaboration. I don't think we do most things as solos, including design work. It's informed by other things and other people. But it's about believing in yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good question. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Kamzi. I'm from the High School of Fashion Industry.
That's it. Good. Up.
Okay. I had a question. My question was who motivated you? Like, who motivated you and pushed you to be who you are today?
Well, I was lucky to have parents who were very supportive, though I tormented them for most of my youth and teens. I was a difficult kid, but they were very supportive, especially of education. And when I was studying art and design, I had the best teachers I've ever had in my life. And I still am in touch with them, and I still love and cherish them. And they were just hugely important mentors because they always put it on my head. It was never about, I was never saying to the teacher, well, maybe I did. What can you do for me? They always turned it around. Well, what are you doing for yourself? I'm here to support you, but you've got to take the action here. And it was just, I'm repeating myself, hugely important. So we all need mentors. We all need people who are important to us. We need people we trust. And for me, they were always the grown-ups, I have to say, more than my peers. But that's me. Everyone's different. It could be sibling. It could be friends. It could be a significant other. But for me, it was always those grown-ups who were role models. Oh, yeah.
I hate to do this, but we've run out of time.
I heard me.
I want to do a couple of things before we all leave. One is I want a round of applause to thank every designer in this room.
Yes.
Second, a big shout out to Target for sponsoring this event.
Thank you, Target. Yes.
And finally, I'd like to thank Tim Gunn
Oh, no.
for coming and being
Please.
our keynote.
No. Thank you all. I just want to wish all of you tremendous success, a continued wonderful trajectory on the path you're on now. And remember, believe in yourself, be tenacious, and also listen.
And thank you all.
Okay? Thank you.